Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi, I'm Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV, and I'm here today with Sam Paredes, Gun Owners of California, Executive Director, and we're going to talk about all things gun today. So, Sam, thank you very much for coming and joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, but no, really, we really appreciate you taking your precious time and coming to see us and help us kind of understand some of this crazy stuff that we face in California. So why don't let's just start out a little bit. Let's talk about the history of Gun Owners of California.
Sure. Gun Owners of California and Gun Owners of America together were the oldest pro-gun political action committee in America. Our boss, Senator H.L. Richardson, was a member of the board of directors of the National Rifle Association back in 1974-75, just after both Congress and all of the states created their campaign finance laws creating political action committees. Nobody knew how they worked. The senator figured out and went to the board members. Some of the old NRA guys will remember, Neil Knox and
sure.
I don't remember, but the leadership back then. And HL went to them and said, hey, do you care if we start one of these new political action committees? They sponsored the first bill in California to ban handguns. It was SB 7, sponsored by Senator Alan Cerroti of West Los Angeles and Assemblyman Nick Petras of Oakland. First time it had been sponsored, and here was in California. So the Harlan Carter, who was running NRA, said, sure, Bill, go right ahead, start it. And he said, use our fundraiser, and we used their fundraiser at the time. And in the first year of operation, we got over 300,000 individual campaign contributors. Had never been done before for political purposes here in California. Wow. So thankfully, NRA saw the wisdom and the benefit of that, and they started the Institute for Legislative Action Political Victory Fund. Right. And of course, now they are the top dog, the big Mac Daddy on the block, and that's a good thing. But we have been doing this for 37 years now. Wow. And we do only a couple of things. We lobby in the legislature, the halls of the legislatures all across the country, and in Congress to defend the Second Amendment, to promote constitutional laws that honor the Second Amendment in its purest sense. And the other thing that we do is we work in the elections to elect pro-gun candidates to office all across the spectrum, so that they can fight for us in the halls of the legislature.
Well, we need them more now than ever. We've got to get the pro guys in. We just do it. So we're being attacked at every turn.
Yes, very, very definitely. We are on the defensive.
Yes, and we shouldn't be, but we have to. And we have a number of organizations, yours being one, of course, that's actively there trying to get the pro-gun candidates in. And it's something that we have to really work on. So, now, HL, it's really interesting. I met him years and years ago when I had my business in Diamond Springs. And he used to come in, and what a character. How is he doing?
He's doing great. He's 84 years old.
Wow.
He's still our founder and chairman and very active part of our operation, still writing books. As a matter of fact, we're just about ready to republish a new edition of his first book, Slightly to the Right. It's now called Tea Party Talk, Connecting the Dots. Oh, wow. And it's about how conservatives or pro-constitutional people need to communicate their message and how to do it effectively against the left. He's also written his most popular book, Confrontational Politics, which is all about winning elections, understanding how the other side operates and what they are, and then understanding ourselves so that we can, with that knowledge, we can effectively fight the left in the political arena. And that's a very popular book. I've been giving upper division, college-level type 6-hour seminars all over the state to people who are wanting to sit down and learn how to take this country back.
Good. Well, I'll try to find myself into one of those here and when we get an opportunity. That's great. Well, so one of the things that we do here at Old Guy Tech, of course, is we look at the technology behind the technology a little bit, what's going on here. But what we're really frustrating us here in California is these California gun laws. It seems to be so confusing, and I'm in the gun world every day to a certain degree as an instructor or a teacher or something, and even I have a hard time answering some of these questions. So let's just talk about the basics right now in California. What makes a firearm? Let's start with, we have an example of a AR-15 in front of us right now, and this is a California legal AR-15. And so what makes this allowable in California versus the other ARs?
Well, under California law, and you're absolutely correct, Rob, that it is extremely confusing. We have police officers, attorneys contacting us all of the time asking us for our opinions on the law. And what it boils down to, under the so-called assault weapons laws here in California, this firearm does not qualify in any way, shape, or form or configuration as an assault weapon under California law because of one thing, and that's this little thing right here. It's called a bullet button. Right. The statute specifically states that if a semi-automatic firearm with a protruding pistol grip or all of the different appendages, if one of these semi-automatic firearms requires a tool to drop a magazine, then it cannot qualify as an assault weapon.
Okay.
And in the statute it says that a bullet can qualify as a tool. So, therefore, you could put whatever you want to hang on this thing and make it look wild and crazy, and it would never, never fall under the category of an assault weapon. Change that, and everything changes, and you're possibly facing a felony for being in possession of this firearm. Right. And I like to call them firearms because they're not weapons until somebody uses them for defense.
I agree. I call them all firearms. So, absolutely. So, okay, again, back to what makes a firearm in California. So, in this situation, we're looking at one particular change in this gun. What part of this gun is actually the firearm?
Well, under California and federal law, the receiver itself is the firearm.
Right.
The barrels, the stocks, the scopes, all of the other attachments are not. If you have a receiver, the portion that has the serial number on it, that is the portion of this piece of equipment that is the firearm.
Right.
No matter how it's assembled, that is the firearm.
So, my understanding is that with any firearm within California, if it is the portion that has the serial number,
correct, that
makes it the firearm.
Correct.
So it could be any gun that has a slide or anything else attached to it. It's still like on a 1911 A1, let's say. That slide, top slide, is not.
Correct.
But the hand grip and the rail part there
That's
is.
Correct. That's absolutely correct.
Right.
To add to the confusion, what is a legal handgun in California?
Right.
You are opening up a huge can of worms there. If for all new guns, they must have first. They must pass a safety test. That isn't a safety test. It's a political correctness test.
Now we're talking handguns here.
Handguns, right. Gun has to be able to fire for 600 rounds without failure. It has to have a magazine disconnect and a loaded chamber indicator, which are two functions that aren't necessarily safety items, especially when you take into account that most police departments want those types of features disabled.
Right.
But the law requires those features for law-abiding citizens in order to get any of the new guns. All of the guns in the past that didn't have these features but were grandfathered in, they still are legal guns. So there's a lot of confusion when a police officer says, this gun doesn't have a magazine disconnect, but how old is it? Is it before or after the law? And the issue with that is that many police officers in the confusion say, we will arrest and allow the courts to figure things out, which is devastating to our freedom.
Yeah, that's just terrible. It's just awful to think that they'd rather be uneducated than educated and make the right decision, where you and I have to go spend the money with an attorney and fight the issue when we know that we're legal.
That's correct. And for us to expect police officers, really realistically, for us to expect them to be so well versed on pages and pages of state law with details that are esoteric and some details that you cannot see by observing the outside of a gun.
Right.
We're putting an undue responsibility, I think, on our law enforcement officers. But still, the travesty is that they choose to arrest and allow the courts to figure it out, and that costs us money and freedom.
Yeah, it's a shame. And then the other situation, if I was a gun shop owner, all the older guns that are coming in, I can't sell them.
That's correct.
Now, if you want to sell me a gun, and I want to buy your gun, we both go to the gun shop, do an FFL dealer, we do the paperwork, and everything's fine and dandy as individuals.
Correct.
That store cannot sell it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense at all. No. Especially when you think about it from the anti-gunners' perspective. They want to have as much control as possible with as much paperwork and trails leading to any transactions and stuff. And here is one situation where they are begging for a black market. Law-abiding citizens, they do have to go to a dealer, and they can sell any gun that they legally possess to another individual.
Right.
But they couldn't sell it to a dealer for the dealer to sell it to another individual. That's right. No, it is very confusing.
It's very anti-business. Let's just put it that way. We don't even look at what the product is. It's just anti-business. It's made it difficult for these small shops that most of them used to live on used firearms that they can't do that anymore.
When you take into account, Rob, that the vast majority of firearms, especially handguns that are in private possession right now, are older guns.
Right.
Guns that have been around prior to 1992. Many of them are completely in legal possession, and they are not registered. They didn't have to be back then.
Correct.
So again, California law creates this conundrum that puts us in jeopardy every time we have to deal with it. Whenever law enforcement and law-abiding citizens come into contact, we're placed in jeopardy when we shouldn't be, and that's a travesty.
Yeah, it's just not right. Another situation, we went to the SHOT Show and we were talking to Glock. I'm a big Glock fan. They have a beautiful Gen 4 line that they've come out with, and plain and simple. And it's on YouTube and on our website. The interview with Glock is, will Gen 4 ever be in California? And their answer is really simple: no. There'll never be a Gen 4. So the only Glocks that we have are early ones up to third generation. So here's the way it works in California. If you don't understand it, what happens is there's this list of all the guns that are proper in California. Okay, so in other words, there's this nice list of guns that somebody in these independent testing laboratories have decided that this gun meets the criteria.
Correct.
Okay, so and then it goes on this list. So then let's take Glock as an example. Glock is brought out this brand new Generation 4. It does not have a magazine disconnect. It does not have a firing indicator, so it will not ever be in California.
Correct.
And nor can they make that Gen 4 version ever California legal. So now we have a problem. If Glock stops making the third generation guns, which we get here in California now and is what we're pretty much using, if they stop making that and they decide not to pay the licensing fee going forward, we could literally lose all Glocks.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah. That is absolutely correct. And that is the danger with all of the guns that are on the list. And if you think about it from a manufacturer's perspective, as opposed to a gun owner's perspective, they would want to allow guns that are obsolete according to their production operation to drop off the list because they want to sell the new models.
Sure, absolutely.
So there isn't any if they're no longer selling those models, there's no incentive for them to continue to pay to have those guns put onto the list.
Exactly. To keep that license
and
going.
We're the ones who are the ones to have to pay that price.
And you can't blame the manufacturer for it. Why, you brought out a new model. Why would you still want to keep building the old model and only selling it to one state in the whole country?
That's correct.
Makes no sense. And, my feeling is we'll probably lose Glock at some point. Within the next 10 years, we're probably going to lose Glock.
I think that's going to be true of many guns, and up to and probably including sooner or later the 1911. The 1911 design, all of those that are presently acceptable right now, no new ones will ever be able to come in because you cannot retrofit them with a magazine disconnect, and they do not have a loaded chamber indicator.
Right.
So at some point in time when, in the future, manufacturers are going to go to the next step beyond the 1911. I hope that never happens. I'm a 1911 guy myself.
Me too. Love them. I heard something just really sad today. Taurus, which actually makes a very, very nice 1911, pulled it out.
Yes.
Not going to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yep. One of the largest markets they have here in California, they couldn't sell it. It was a model that had all of the custom features, was reliable, and from all reports was a good gun at about a $600 price point, compared to $1,500 and $2,000 guns, and they couldn't sell it in the number one market that they have. So why keep making it? What a shame! What a shame!
It just hurts. It hurts me every time.
Especially when you take into account that there is absolutely zero difference to the micron on the design of the gun versus those that are being sold by Smith & Wesson and Colt and all of the other manufacturers that sell 1911s in California. It's a travesty.
I have this feeling, and this is we may have talked about my feelings on this, but when they passed the law on the so-called safety test, what they really were trying to do, they called them Saturday night specials. They were trying to get rid of Saturday night specials. Basically, as a gun dealer, what it actually meant to us was little lower end firearms that were more convenient for the hard-working person to afford. So here we have a whole situation in California where we removed all these guns that functioned just fine but were lower cost, didn't meet the criteria. Where's the ACLU on this one, where you know who it's affecting? Who's it affecting the most? It's affecting the poor people that can't afford to buy a more expensive gun.
Yes, yeah, and again, the conundrum is even larger than that. When you take into account that there were a circle of manufacturers in Southern California that the anti-gunners deemed the Ring of Fire. Those manufacturers of these small, inexpensive, mainly semi-automatic. Some of them were revolvers, but. And they were going after them. They wanted them out of the state. Well, the fact of the matter is that these companies all submitted guns under the new law, and every one of them passed the safety test. So none of the guns blew up in the hand or caused any sort of problems. And they're no longer in business, but it has nothing to do with the functionality or the quality of the guns. Yes, they were less expensive. Yes, they were made of materials that weren't going to last as long as the very expensive guns. But they were the only line of defense that, as you say, lower income people could afford to use to defend themselves.
And it's just kind of like, where are you on this issue? Why aren't you here fighting for what you consider your people, right?
That's right.
So anyway, that's what gets me quite a bit. One of the things I want to make sure that we promote before I lose my track is that you have a banquet coming up, and I believe it's March 9th?
Yes, March 9th right here in Placerville, and it's at the fairgrounds, and we have a great time. Folks come. We raffle off a ton of guns. We just had one in Yuba City, and it was on Friday the 13th. It was a black gun event. All of our guns were black. The shotguns were black. Our handguns were black, and except a couple of pink guns for the gals, and they really loved that. And we had a bunch of AR style guns, and we may have a lot like that here in Placerville.
Oh, good.
You have the best prime rib dinner you'll ever have. And we'll have a couple of really good guests that'll come and say hello. It's political. We're not a foundation,
right?
So we can talk about what we really need to do, and we will bring our elected officials and we will keep their feet to the fire, answer some questions, have an auction, have raffle, have some games, great food. It's a great time.
So how can our listeners and our followers get to buy tickets for this?
Yeah, they can buy a ticket by going to our website at www.gunownersca.com. That's GUNOWNERSCA.com. Or you can call us at our office at 916-984-1400. Ask for Julie Benson. She'll make sure that the tickets are either reserved and waiting for you at the door, or they will be sent to you, and you'll have them all filled out and ready to go when you come.
Well, that's great. And I managed to get my schedule cleared this year.
Oh,
and I'm
fantastic.
going to be there. I've got one of the guys running for supervisor who wants me to sit at his table, so I will be there. I've been wanting to do it, but it's been a tight schedule for me.
I can understand.
I'm really looking forward to it. I really want to keep supporting GOC. So again, a membership. How do you become a member now?
Well, you can become a member if you come to one of our dinners. That automatically makes you a member. We'll put you on our membership rolls. If you buy one of our 52 guns and 52 weeks raffle tickets, we have an annual raffle that we put on. where for $50 you buy one ticket, and with that ticket you are in the raffle every week of the year. 52 raffles, and we have a different gun that we raffle off every year, and we announce it on Sep Hendrickson's radio show, California Sportsman, every Saturday morning. We contact the winners on Monday, and we limit the total number of tickets sold to 1,500, and I think we're like at 1,300 tickets sold.
So you're almost there.
Yeah, almost there. And if you get one of those tickets, you become a member. Other than that, we ask for a $35 donation to be an annual member, and we won't kill you with mail. We'll send 4 newsletters a year, a membership card, and probably one other mailing. But we will keep you up to date with the most recent information on gun control issues in California and in the nation.
Yeah. Well, that's what we want to be part of. Old Guy Tech here, not only are we tech, but we want to make sure that we preserve our rights. And it's a broad spectrum. I'm not talking just firearms, but our rights in general, because, the Fourth Amendment is under attack, the First Amendment is under attack. I mean, we've got situations here. It's just absolutely gone nuts with our current president. And I'm not afraid to say it. He may not like it, but I'm not a fan of his. Yeah. And I think we have to keep fighting. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is how can we help each other? And we'll do this off the air, but I want you to know that if you're watching this, we're going to work with GOC as much as we can and make sure that you get the information that you need, because it's important. It's very confusing. I teach a CCW class every month, and I get the same questions. People just don't understand the law, and it is very confusing. If us so-called experts have to debate it sometimes, how does the regular person understand it?
So it's not a fair situation at all.
It's very, very, very tough. So, so is there what's the most recent legislation that you're fighting? What do we have to fight right now? 2
pieces of legislation. Assemblyman Portantino sponsored a new bill this year to ban the open carrying of rifles and shotguns. He sponsored and passed last year AB 144 that would ban open carrying of a handgun, an unloaded handgun. Well, now he's going to go after the rifles and shotguns, and he's a knucklehead, and he's going to push it to the limit. Governor Brown has now proven that he will sign anti-gun legislation if it's given to him, and we expect that that legislation will make it to his desk unless we can somehow perform a miracle with some anti-gun voters, because it is a majority of anti-gunners in both the Senate and the Assembly.
Right.
Another piece of legislation sponsored by Senator Kevin DeLeon. Here's a good one. Senate Joint Resolution 10. It calls on Congress to reinstate the federal assault weapons ban because of the river of iron of guns that have been going from America to Mexico.
Yes, Fast and Furious,
yes,
right?
Oh,
yes, that's a Feinstein thing.
Yeah, he forgot to mention that it's a BATF that's sending the guns down. And it's interesting that he quoted a study that was done by the Woodrow Wilson Center for Policy and Justice or something like that in Southern California, and they pointed out in this study that 90,000 guns have gone from America or through American borders to Mexico and have been captured by the Mexican authorities. Well, they had to come out with, because I'm giving the Woodrow Wilson Institute a little bit of credit, because shortly after that they came out with another study and they found, well, maybe we were a little overstating it a little bit. In fact, there were 5 agencies in the Mexican government that were reporting the guns that they had received. Yeah. So the same guns were being reported 5 different times, and nobody was honest enough to point that out. And they also pointed out that over 25% of the guns that they were reporting, they couldn't tell where they came from or who manufactured them because the serial numbers and manufacturing markets were gone. So when you boil all the numbers down to it, comes a lot closer to the number of guns that BATF sent across in Fast and Furious, and a majority of the blame we put on their shoulders.
Well, it's amazing. Our Senator Feinstein in the state of California came out and said the whole reason for this is because we have too lax of gun laws in this country.
Wow.
I mean, come on. You said it. I said the same thing when I read that. I couldn't believe it. And Jerry Brown has never seen an anti-gun bill he doesn't love.
That's true. When he was a governor first stint, he never signed an anti-gun bill, but I'll tell you why that happened. Back during his first term, Senator Richardson was in the legislature. Right. Gun Owners of California was strong enough to defeat every anti-gun measure that never left committee. It never went to the floor and went to the governor's desk. He never had an opportunity to sign them. Well, now that he's had an opportunity, he's shown that his clean record really was only one of lack of opportunity.
Yes, so, not that he wouldn't.
No, that's right.
Yes,
and now he has and will continue.
Well, it's a sad situation we're facing with that. And of course, it wasn't any better under Schwarzenegger. I mean, we really need to work harder to make sure that we get the right people in.
We are working very hard to elect people who believe in the Constitution, Rob. Yeah. People who love the founding documents of this country and want to adhere to them. Not people who are conjuring up from who knows where there's some emotion or some ill-conceived thought what they believe to be proper for America and Americans and Californians. Something that's generated out of whole cloth, out of some mist in the air. We are fighting for legislators and governors and a president, U.S. senators and congressmen who believe in the Constitution, who believe in a limited, constitutionally limited government, those who believe in fiscal responsibility, and those who, frankly, think that the free market is the best way to operate this country under the rule of capitalism that we have. So
yeah. No, we've got to do it. We've got to keep fighting. And, it's easy to get disenfranchised with the whole situation. I mean, I know a lot of people say, my vote doesn't count for anything anyway. And I understand their frustration, because if you look at the makeup of California, people, when we used to talk about splitting the state, always thought you're going to go split north and south. No, what you're going to do is you're going to split west and east. Yeah. Because if you look at the way the state's made up, it's the coast is all blue and the rest is red.
Rob, let me give you a little bit of encouragement. We have a perfect example of what we can do in California, and it happened in the 9th Congressional District of New York. This is where Congressman Weiner was pretty much run out of office because of his little picadillos. And there was an election there. And now, mind you, this is an election where Democrats outnumbered Republicans 3-1. They had never elected a Republican as congressman since 1921. A large Jewish population, then a large Italian population, then a large Irish population. So the vast majority were those groups. They set aside all of the political issues, and they got down to the issues that were that really key issues to them, whether it was traditional marriage with the Jewish community, or the life issue with the Catholics in the Italian and Irish community. And when push came to shove, these folks voted on those issues above party, and they elected what turns out to be Rush Limbaugh's former television producer as their congressman.
Wow.
And what happened there? These values issues that they voted on, across the board, they erased party lines.
Right.
We are going to try to do here in California and get people to vote on the important issues, the hot button issues that really motivate them and are important to them. So that's what we're working on doing.
Well, we want to work with you. We want to make sure that on our site and up in YouTube that we do and all that information gets put out there to everybody. So we have multiple ways for people to find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking forward to working with you. Sam, we've run through our 30 minutes here, and it went really fast. And that'll just give us an opportunity to do that again at some other point as things go on. I want to thank you very, very much for coming and talking to us, and we'll do it again soon. How about that?
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, perfect. Me too. So, hey, this is Rob Charney for Old Guy Tech TV. Make sure you check out our website, look at this video, and learn about what's going on in the state of California. It's people like Sam coming here and talking to us that informs us, and we have to stay informed. And remember, it crosses party lines. We're talking about certain issues here, and we need to be proactive. And that's why we have Gun Owners of California, and that's why we have Sam here with us. And if you have any questions, get a hold of us. You know how to do it. Sam gave you all his information. You know how to get his. We'll see you soon. Thanks. This episode of Old Guy Tech TV is brought to you by Ward's Automotive, specializing in Banks Power and Pack Brake, servicing your car or truck, and specializing in diesel engines. Over 30 years of service, located in Diamond Springs, California. Give them a call at 530-626-5588.